I first met this woman in Ikipa, Nashville, which was my first Ikipa, and I loved her vibe that she just gave off, and I had to search her and find her to come out and speak today. Juenlee, it's yours.
Thanks very much. Hi, my name's Juenlee. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Juenlee.
How you doing? Hi, Juenlee.
Thank you. I'm from Maui, Hawaii. I'm setting my timer so I don't go off past time, but okay, there we go. Yeah, I got sober on Maui, and I pretty much have lived here, and I moved to Oahu for 3 months. I moved to the mainland in California where I went to high school, and my mother lives out there, all my family lives in California. And then after those 3 months, I moved to Oahu to host Ikipa 95. And God said, you can't just move over there to go and host an AA conference, you gotta go to college. And so I went to college there for 3 years. And then I got married and moved back to Maui. So most of my sobriety is here on Maui. And I got sober at 21 and no family on the island. And it was pretty boring, I should say. The fellowship was really small. Everybody was 30 to 40 years older than me. And I'd sit in meetings and people would go, I drank for 45 years and then I got sober. It's like, didn't appeal to me. Well, but those old timers, long timers, really took care of me. I felt welcomed. I felt cared for enough to stay sober, to want to be sober in AA. And I don't think I would have come around because I didn't feel like I drank enough. I talk about I came in by accident. I got married at 19 because I knew what I was doing. Nobody could tell me what to do. I had a fake ID from the time I was 15 years old. And so I decided that the grown-up thing to do is get married to somebody you don't like who throws beer balls at you. That's my idea of marriage. And so at 2 years of marriage, I came into AA meetings trying to get him to stop drinking. And I'd tell him, like, you're an asshole when you drink, smoke more dope with me. That's the solution. And the first AA member I met gave me a big book, and he said, why don't you just kind of replace smoking, every word that says alcohol, replace it with smoking. And I didn't think it applied to me because I worked. I was 21. I went to work every day, 6 days a week, and I was responsible. And then I'd go home and I'd be incredibly miserable and isolated and lonely, and didn't know what was wrong. What really rang true for me is when they said, your best thinking got you here. And my best thinking, trying to run my life by myself, got me to this isolated, beautiful island, away from family that I loved. Couldn't get out of the house. Didn't go anywhere. Didn't make friends with anyone. And to kind of rewind a little bit, I was my first anything was a drink at 11 years old and a joint at pretty much at the same party, and I just loved it. I know right at that point my attitude shifted to not like I gotta have some, I gotta look for it, but that I'm not gonna be happy unless I had some. And so I was irritable, I was a pain in the butt, I was the difficult child. I ran away from home when I was 13 and found myself at the summer of my 8th grade going into 9th grade, lost in a basement with a parachute for the ceiling with drinking and smoking. And I decided to quit. My best thinking. I decided I'm going to stop. but I didn't have any fellowship. I didn't know that I had a disease. And so I started again 9 months later. And I proceeded to find a boyfriend that he didn't drink or use. His father was a policeman. So I thought it was good. I thought this was going to be a fun family to be a part of. Well, the father was an alcoholic, a fireman, a policeman, a lawyer, and he had this great big house. I mean, he was fully functional. I want to be just like him, except for when he got drunk and pissed on the sofa. I want to be just like him. Anyway, so that was my role model in high school. And I believe that if I had stayed stopped in this program and gotten into this program and gotten the spiritual way of life, that I wouldn't have dropped out of high school my sophomore year. In 10th grade, I just wasn't there, and I just took the GED, and I left school. And I believe if I had stopped when I really knew that I had a problem, that I wouldn't have gotten in a fight with my mother and given her bruises. I don't believe that would have happened if I was walking the spiritual path. So I feel like I really needed to get in here, even though it looked like I was functional. I got the fake ID when I was 15. I was driving to Lake Tahoe to drink and gamble and do whatever I wanted after I was 15. And I just think that I just wanted to get grown up. I just want to get grown up already. This whole teenage stuff is just, I'm over it. So to get sober, I got in here and I started going to meetings. The very first AA member I met, I fell in love with and had his baby. I was 2 weeks sober and he was 18 months sober. I was 21, he was 23. We were a match made in heaven. He had no choice, basically. I went to every meeting he went to. I batted my eyes, take me to Jack in the Box. I mean, oh, the poor guy. Anyway, so we set out to be the AA couple. We went everywhere. He was in service. He was in intergroup. And it got me, I saw how much people loved Alcoholics Anonymous. And I saw how important that was. And he took me to the planning meetings, and he helped, and his sponsor opened up meetings. So I watched how to open a meeting. If you need a meeting, you open a meeting. And you show up and you participate and you be the coffee maker. I learned all that from him in the first year we were together, my first year of sobriety. And in that first year, I worked the 12 steps with a sponsor, and I watched myself fall in love with Alcoholics Anonymous. So understand that I'm getting happier than I ever was. And I never could admit that I was alcoholic. I'd say like I'm an Al-Anon. I have a desire to stop drinking. I'm a potential alcoholic. It says 3 times in the big book, and one time in the 12 and 12, it's potential alcoholic. That's me. But it's because it was really difficult. I never drank alcoholically, and but this medicine, this going to meetings and working steps and being a part of the fellowship, it worked for me. It made me happy. And all I had to do was not drink. That's a deal. That was easy for me, And I'd go on for a whole year of sobriety. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. This BPOG, whatever. I don't have a desire to drink, and I can't relate. But I'm going to stick around. And I'd get into fear that you guys would kick me out because I didn't drink enough. So I'd get into service. I'd make sure I had the key to open the door. So, that's so much mental, whatever, twists. And that was my first year, and it was a beautiful first year. I had a baby, and 6 weeks later, I picked up my 1-year chip. I call him my 13-step baby, but never mind it. I didn't drink or use. The deal is going into that second year was a nightmare, and it got real. I watched the father of my son stop going to meetings, stop being in service, only go to work, only come home to be with the family, and he was a miserable, really irritating, insecure, irritable person. I watched him get sicker not doing this program. And before I picked up my second year chip, I had to put out a restraining order on the guy. And we're both sober and we're not drinking. And he's almost at 4 years. I've got 2. I mean, it just was a real eye opener that if you can stop drinking, you can stay stopped. But if you're not doing this deal, if you're not you're not happy. Emotional sobriety is the next level of sobriety. You know, I learned that through this relationship. And I got a lot of outside help in that second year for the first time being single parent and staying sober. And it was just a real miracle that I didn't drink. But at that time when I split up, it was January, and so it was like I didn't drink, and it was all of a sudden I picked up my 2-year coin in January, and I want to drink. I am miserable. I want to drink so badly, and I'd worked the 12 steps, and I understand them, and I'm sponsored people, but oh my gosh, I'm in the grips of loneliness like I've never known, and failure with this father and my son. I mean, it was a lot of emotions, but I didn't drink, you know. And I used to think I didn't have enough of a drinking story to talk about. I didn't think I had anything to relate to. But now I realize my story is I didn't drink through the times that people drink over. I didn't drink over having to go to a battered women's shelter. I didn't drink over losing my place to live after kicking him out and sleeping in my car with a single mom with a little 9-month-old. I mean, I didn't drink over a lot of the hardest times in my life. And that's because I believe AA, my higher power, helped me to build a fellowship before all those hard times happened. And that's basically what's carried me through a lot of the hard times is like I was single for 8 years, learning how to have fun in sobriety, how to be in service, how to get to those campouts and get to the gatherings. I'm an extrovert. I need people around me. I love people around me. And I love having people that also are on the same path, who want to help and want to be of service. And I know what that feels like, the just not being in my own head, in my darkness, and so that basically carried me through being in service, being a GSR at that time. When I picked up my 2 years and wanting to drink, they gave me a GSR position, and that just got me out of myself. And I just can't talk enough about service and about making the opportunities to go and get out of your comfort zone and go into someplace new and meet other people that are on the same path. I think that was just so valuable for me. Fast forward, when I hosted Ikipa, we were bidding for it on Maui, and we said, you know, the most amount of people that will get benefit for this international conference of young people in AA is going to be on Oahu. And so I moved to Oahu to help host this AA conference. And by the time we finished hosting it, I had committed like 4 years of doing that, and my higher power said really clearly, okay, there's no 4-year college on the island you live on. There's a 4-year college here on Oahu and Honolulu. You just volunteered 4 years of your time to AA to host this, to bid and then to host. You got to go to college. And so I did that, got my college degrees, 2 bachelors, and I met somebody, and it was a trip because my higher power kept saying, you're going to meet somebody, the man of your dreams on Oahu. And I'd have these arguments like, I want to live back on Maui. I got sober on Maui. My kids born on Maui. I want to go back to Maui. And so I dated here and there, and I went to an area assembly, an AA area assembly. I'm not a part of it or anything. I'm supposed to be in college. But the DCM from Maui came over, and we just connected instantly. And like the assembly was April, and we got engaged in July, and I moved back to Maui in August. And like fast forward, like a lot of things have happened. A lot of marriage help, counseling help, everything else have gone on. AA has made me willing to grow and willing to improve my life and my relationships with everybody. In May, we get to celebrate 20 years of marriage. And in all of that, he was a single dad, I was a single mom, and we adopted each other's kids, and then we had 2 of our own. So we have 4 children now, and the child we have together is celebrating her 18th birthday in this next week. And oh my God, she might be valedictorian. Like, I don't know that till March, but she's in the running, right? And it's like to come from me being a dropout to having 2 adult children that have master's degrees, and this 18-year-old that has a whole world ahead of her. It's like AA has overseeded beyond my wildest dreams what would happen to my life if I stayed close to this program. If I work to improve myself, if I give to others, and have some fun along the way, you know, just share with anybody who will listen that you can actually stay sober, have a wonderful time doing it, and learn about yourself. Like really get to love who you are, and just hang on for the ride of your life. You know, just to touch on, those are the beautiful accomplishments and things that I've experienced. But it's and one of them is like 22 icky paws. I've been to 22 conferences. But the hardest parts were at 18 years of sobriety, or 17 years of sobriety. I couldn't tell you I was going to make it to 18. I almost drank. I was so dark, and it was so unspiritual. It was a really bad time. I had to get outside help, and I pulled through it, and I jumped into service. And after I pulled through it, I jumped into service, and it really got me centered. And then at 25 years of sobriety, 6 years ago, I was surrounded by AA. I had a big celebration for my sober birthday. I went to an AA conference, the Wacky Paw in Las Vegas. I was loved so much from the AA fellowship. And then the next day, I had an accidental alcoholic drink. And it was one with the umbrellas, like I used to get in the casinos. I didn't know what it was. It was supposed to be non-alcoholic. I drank the whole thing. I got that whole hot, warm, what the hell's going on? And I got into the cravings. I wanted another drink for the next 3 months. I had a voice that came to me that never came before, and that was, it was as good as it ever was. And that scared me to death. I know today I'm an alcoholic. I've done all the footwork to be happy and to not drink, but I never drank alcoholically to know if I was an alcoholic or not. But I know now. I'm bona fide. I need to be here. I'm staying. I didn't have that second drink. I'm here. I'm here for my recovery. I'm here for my sobriety, and that's why when Chris asked me to share, I'm all for it. I'm willing, and you know, out of that, I don't know if I'm supposed to be picking a topic or anything, but you know, love you guys. Thanks for showing up for me and asking me to be a speaker.